Hi, my name is Gerald Bissell, and today I'll be presenting the effect of economic globalization on a Hager clothing company blazer. Economic geography serves as a lens through which we can view the networks of global production, consumption, and general commerce. The field of study is a necessity in today's economic climate due to the complexity of commodity markets. In recent years, rapid globalization has led to an extensive amount of interconnectedness across borders. Constituent materials of sold products may, and often do, come from multiple countries. Through foreign exchange, collaborating nations utilize their respective comparative advantages to increase the world's production possibility. In practice, the resulting patterns of trade are quite complicated as local, nationwide, and international politics affect exchange. Economic geography also aids in assessing a firm's impact on not only the surrounding market but individuals in the area as well. These principles can be applied to goods sold in Gainesville, Florida, the University of Florida's hometown. In particular, the Men's Warehouse, a national apparel retailer with a location in the city, sells a Hager branded blazer that compels further investigation. Using economic theory, elements of the clothing item will be revealed: where the constituent products come from, how the firm functions, and larger political policies which collectively piece together the encompassing story of the Hager blazer. Though tracking the exact location of all the materials is rather difficult, one may look at the company's history to glean a better sense of the production process. Hager Clothing is a men's apparel brand located in Dallas, Texas. From 1926 until 2005, the firm was owned solely by the Hager family, and much of the production during the 20th century was housed domestically. After declaring Chapter 11 bankruptcy in early 1995, Hager's ownership was transferred multiple times. Following necessary corporate changes, the company was bought by the clothing conglomerate Randa Apparel and Accessories in 2019. Knowing Hager's parent company eases the tracking process of the constituent materials. Randa's main sourcing facilities are located in China, Shanghai, Zhejiang Province, and Fujian Province. For the jacket fabric, this origin seems to hold. In a Bloomberg article from this year, the global sourcing production manager for Hager, Tony Anzovino, confirmed that, quote, China is still the workhorse with regards to the fabric. Anzovino's statement should not be a surprise to many, as the Chinese mills benefit from a large and cost-effective labor force. About 20% of the raw materials for Hager clothing come from China. While this is a significant amount, the figure is down from nearly 70% 5 years ago. As such, one could assume that much of the material, fabric, lining, and buttons, is sourced from China, but there is still a trace of uncertainty. Hager does not state where its exact material originates like other reputable, sustainable brands. In fact, the jacket's description just states that it is, quote, imported. Further, the firm does not specify how the textiles are milled and if the overall procedure is environmentally friendly. The residual doubt in Hager affects the brand's image, which will later be discussed. After the blazer is produced overseas, it must undergo an extensive distribution process before arriving in Gainesville. From China, products are typically shipped by sea on large cargo vessels. The journey from Asia to America can take several weeks, but remains the most cost-effective option for businesses. Once the ships are unloaded in the United States, customs clearance procedures are initiated. United States Customs and Border Protection inspects and verifies the contents of the shipping containers to ensure compliance with import regulations and to assess any applicable duties or tariffs. Subsequent to approval, the blazer then enters the distribution phase. Before shipping products to stores such as Men's Warehouse, Hager must allocate their products to various distribution facilities in North America. Randa's North American logistic facilities are based in Fort Worth, Texas, Reno, Nevada, New Orleans, Louisiana, and Mississauga, Ontario. These distribution centers serve as hubs for sorting, organizing, and preparing the clothing for final delivery to retailers. Upon finalizing orders with retailers, Hager then ships products from the facilities to the individual brick-and-mortar locations. The totality of this process emphasizes the intricacy of the global supply chain. From manufacturing to distribution to final sale, companies can connect two distant corners of the world. As essential as tracing the constituent materials is, it is equally important for an economist to evaluate the firm. Traditionally, a company's goal is to provide a beneficial product to the consumer whilst generating as much revenue as possible. Hager does not fall short of this expectation. In 2018, they reported $500 million in sales and projected further increases in the coming years. After bouncing back from the pandemic, Hager reached $580 million in sales during the 2022 fiscal year. While these figures are impressive, gross revenue is no longer the sole impetus for executives. Especially in the area of social media and rapid communication, firms are being held accountable for their social practices. Generational differences have shown to be relevant in business. Younger individuals are more inclined to buy from businesses that are sensitive to social initiatives. Companies have adopted corporate social responsibility guidelines, a business approach that encourages firms to take responsibility for their impact on society and the environment beyond their financial bottom line. This is particularly relevant to Hager, as the company outsources its manufacturing to countries that do not necessarily enforce environmental and labor protections. In a statement on its website, Ranta, quote, pledges to use safe materials, reduce the consumption of energy and water, maintain and improve safe working conditions, and support human rights. Also, an article from 2013 reports that Hager is using sustainable materials in 100% of its garments. The company can achieve this milestone with a blend of cotton and repreve, a recycled polyester material. Other aspects of the firm are left for the consumer to judge, such as manufacturing practices. Chinese labor practices have been a topic of concern for many years, as workers have historically faced poor working conditions. This includes but is not limited to long working hours, low wages, lack of overtime pay, inadequate safety measures, and limited labor rights. Though Hager's practices are uncertain, the lack of transparency leaves the verdict to the buyer. Imported goods are often subject to international and domestic policies, and the Hager blazer is no exception. The textiles and manufacturing are based in China, so the firm's products are eligible for Section 301 tariffs. These tariffs are a result of the Trade Act of 1974 and enable the United States to act against countries that engage in discriminatory or harmful trade practices. Recent applications of the tariffs target China due to concerns over intellectual property theft and trade imbalances. Simply put, the United States imposes a duty rate of up to 25% on goods originating in China and varies the tariff based on the product. In addition to standard import tariffs, the United States has the option to levy anti-dumping and countervailing duties if the Department of Commerce determines that the products at issue are being sold at below fair market value. This policy is designed to protect domestic industries from dishonest foreign practices. Another common practice implemented for the Hager blazer is country of origin tagging. Imported clothing products are typically required to have accurate country of origin labeling data in the consumer's buying process. While the aforementioned policies are in effect for the duration of Hager's commerce, the firm may run into occasional legal trouble due to other laws. In one such instance, United States v. Hager Apparel Company, the firm argued in front of the Supreme Court over manufacturing practices in their Mexico plant. This landmark case regarding customs practices stands out, yet Hager has fought many other battles in court. The record of extensive litigation proves that goods, such as the Hager blazer, are affected by the policies of governing bodies, resulting in a firm adjusting their practices to meet such regulations. For the individual consumer, buying a suit jacket may seem like quite a simple endeavor. The consumer should expect to walk into the men's warehouse, pick a particular blazer, get tailored, and walk out of the door with a new piece of clothing. The production of that clothing, though, is rather complicated. From sourcing raw materials to transporting manufactured goods to final sales, the firm is tasked in making the entire buying experience as seamless as possible. When viewed from an economic geography standpoint, it is evident that the firm handles aspects of commerce beyond individual sales. Businesses must protect their social reputation and strive to be role models for sustainability. Executives must ensure that the firm's execution is compliant with applicable policies, and ultimately, the company must produce enough revenue to continue operating. Buying a Hager blazer may seem straightforward for the consumer, but before it arrives in Gainesville, it must endure a symphony of supply chain choices, marketing strategies, and financial calculations to ensure that the blazer finds its perfect match.